Well, this is a great occasion. And when Stuart talked to me, he said, will you come and launch Addressing History here? Now, I have to say that those of you who know the Clyde and those of you who come from the north east of England will know that a launch is a great occasion for celebration. But you'll also know that there are many tasks remain. There's a lot of fitting out to be done in the ship, and the sea trials are still there, waiting to be done. This is just such a launch. But before we look at what he's done, I just want to remind you how far we've come, how far people like Stuart and his colleagues have come. Anybody know what these are? Anybody ever used any of these? Don't show your age, which is here. When I first started using directories, enormously important sources for historians, the way in which you could digitize them was to put them on 80-column punch cards like this. This actually is the A's from the 1834 commercial directory for the city of Leeds, which I was studying. So although I'm going to raise all sorts of issues and problems around this, don't forget that's where it all came from. And don't forget that when I started in the 1970s, queries were run overnight, and you would wait for the cards and the printout to come back and realize that you'd put one parameter wrong in your instructions and you had to start all over again here. So just remember how far we've gone. I think a lot of you will know that directories are a major resource for history makers. Whatever sort of history is your history. Social history, historical geography, local history, family historians, and many more will use these directories. They're one of many sources which historians call nominal listings. In other words, documents which have a name and a set of characteristics. Voting poll books, rate books, a lot of you will know. The census listings you will know, wills, things of that nature. The directories themselves are deceptively simple here, and hence very attractive to use for a whole variety of purposes, whether you're after an individual or whether you're trying to describe the social and economic structure of a particular community which is there. They organize their information A to Z. They organize it by occupation. They organize it by addresses. The real cost of using a directory is still data entry. There is no easy way to get the data in. The ones that I've used and many others have used are put in keystroke by keystroke as you read across from the directory. And in that way, I think anybody who has done that, whether you've put in a whole directory, paid somebody else to do it, or done it yourself, the ambitions and achievements of addressing history is enormously welcome here. It's an ambitious project. It's a very thoughtful project, and I would say a very brave project in terms of its methodology and the wide variety of target audiences that I think Stuart MacDonald was describing to me the other day. Will it arouse the curiosity of a 15-year-old in school who's logging on here? Will it satisfy the local and the family historian? Nobody is more critical than the local historian who knows their own particular patch. They terrorize professors like me because they know field by field, street by street, person by person what they're doing. Will the directories survive these people? Will it survive the critical scrutiny of the academic, people like myself? It's a tough set of audiences that are here. My answer, I think, you'll find is a characteristic academic answer. It's yes and no with a few reservations on both sides that are coming here. Now, a major feature of this sort of project And the Urban Geographies project that colleague and friend Richard Roger has been directing is the use of maps. I'm not going to say anything about VUG at all, because I know that's going to be talked about later. But it is something that's been particularly directed by people like Chris. We're increasingly using maps as a way of exploring the past. And I think perhaps we need just to think a little bit about what happens when we use a map. They're very attractive, visually exciting, very seductive. A map with some dots on it, and I'll talk about those 2 dots in a minute, that are up there. But there is a danger, I think, that the very fun of producing a map, its very completeness, can act as a barrier to thinking about what is actually happening. You know, it's what, when I was teaching students, I used to call the so what question. You put it on a map. What are you going to do? Don't be completely seduced by these maps. Historians talk about the spatial turn, the distribution, and I think this is enormously important. The way historians have become, partly because of the sort of work that's been done in NLS, have become much more aware that the things we write about happen in space. It matters who the neighbours are. It matters what the distances are. It matters which part of town it's happening in here. I think also, listening to many people who approach the past as family historians, tracing ancestors, local historians, and so on, I think the map is a very direct way of relating here and now. You can put up your map here, and then you can go outside, and you can go and walk down the Cannon Gate, and you can say, this bit of space here was used in this way, was this way, and you can actually put your feet on it. You realise, for example, that until about 1850, you could stand in the middle of Edinburgh here, and you can walk into the fields in less than 15 minutes. Depends how fast you walk. And that applies to most towns outside London. You know, just think about that for a minute and relate it to your own urban experience here. So, right, off we go. Addressing history. Off I go to the preview, and what I'm going to do here, as I say, I regard myself as the first customer for this, and I have an interest at present in looking at the history of the Royal Mile, particularly of the Cannon Gate in this way. So can it help me? So off I go, and we go here to places. I think you can do people in occupations as well here, and I'll put in Cannon Gate. And we'll look at these 3 directories that he's got, one at a time. 1784 there, and in 1784, you'll be very pleased to know that most of the people, I think off it goes to Google, doesn't it, somewhere, and says, where's the Cannon Gate? And Google says, there it is. And we've also got a listing of the 96 results. In the 1784 directory, there were 96 hits, which we've got here. And there they are, some of them. I took my courage in my hands here and took the API. I don't know what API stands for actually, but already I'm a little troubled in that. Whoops, come here. Mrs. Allison, her profession was New Street, so there's a kind of little bit of an itch here. But anyway, courage in hand, and with a little bit of experimenting, I managed to put in the various parameters and instructions, which got me the list of the 96 who are there. I save it as a Word file, a text file, import it into Excel. Here I am, back on safe ground again. I like spreadsheets. We'll get in there. I then looked at the occupation field. It's not so easy here, but one of the things that happens almost immediately is that 24 out of the 96 cases in the address field are addresses. So there's something kind of a bit of a worry here to tackle. as we move along. But let's think positive here. I do a little pivot table in Excel that I love doing, and I get a rough idea of what the Canongate was like in 1784. The most frequent occupations were the grocer, the painter, the writers. The writers, of course, were lawyers in that period, the tailor, and the watchmaker. So we've gone a long way here from struggling with finger-by-finger inputting and struggling with the cards which I showed you. There's a background noise of OCR misreading here, which actually in itself, if your crowdsourcing works, is not too much of a worry, because that background noise where's Lady? Yeah, here she is. Lady Betty Anil Ruther. I'm sure a decent crowdsourcer could put her right in terms of the spelling. So there's some of the issues here that will test out your ambitions in that way. But let's press on, having made a little bit of progress here. And we'll go to the 1865 directory and have a look, and we'll plug in again places Canongate. We get 120 results out of this. John Aitchison is a little bit more orderly. He's actually got his profession down as a brewer. But something else very interesting is happening here, that when we ask for the Canongate, a significant number of people who are returned in the Canongate list are located by Messrs. Google, or should I say Messrs. Google and Fleet, given who's responsible for that here. They're located in other parts of Edinburgh. What is going on here? Has something gone out of kilter? I'm actually going to move on to 1905 here. The 1905 directory, because when we look at 1905, that particular feature of the return, and this is, I'm just being the naive user, the daft laddie here, plugging in things that's there. We now find people are scattered all over the place. I ask for Canongate and I get Portobello. What is going on at this particular level? Let's have a look at some of the entries which are here. And there are really wonderful facilities. I think one of those powerful facilities of addressing history is the way that you can see the PDFs, the image of the original document sitting on one side of the screen. So somebody who gets ratty about me that your occupation can't be New Street can immediately go and have a look at that. But let's have a look at some of the things that are happening here. Here's John Dawson. We'll forgive him that he doesn't admit to his profession because he puts his profession in the address. Headmaster, United Free Normal School, Canongate, House, 39 Morton Square, Joppa, Edinburgh. Gotcha. He is one of the very first people who live and work in different places. He gets the tram every morning and walks up to his particular school, which is there. So in that sense, something interesting is happening, and what Google is clearly doing, there's Google, claims to be accuracy 2.5, but interestingly, and it's quite consistent in this, which is good for what we're doing, it takes the last recognizable address element in the address field and delivers it as the location, which once you realize that, you begin to identify actually a key feature of urban development, which is the way in which home and work began to be separated as the particular cities grew. And our headmaster is one of the few. He didn't live in the schoolhouse. The janitor lives in the schoolhouse by the time you get to 1905. He lives with his family away from that. More troubling for us, and perhaps even for the crowdsourcing, is Mr. Donaldson here, who Canongate is returned as Miller Crescent, which is down the bottom of just off the Morningside Road, for those of you who don't have a Google map in your head, which is there. Actually, it is almost certain that Donaldson